As governor, Michael Dukakis vetoed mandatory sentences for drug dealers. He vetoed the death penalty. His revolving door prison policy gave weekend furloughs to first-degree murderers not eligible for parole. While out, many committed other crimes like kidnapping and rape, and many are still at large. Now Michael Dukakis says he wants to do for America what he's done for Massachusetts. America can't afford that risk. The Environmental Protection Agency called Boston Harbor one of the dirtiest harbors in America. But not long ago, Governor Dukakis proposed a way to help clean it up by dumping Massachusetts sewage sludge off the New Jersey shore, just 106 miles from New York. In fact, the Dukakis administration actually requested a permit to dump here. Now Michael Dukakis says he wants to do for America what he's done for Massachusetts. New Jersey can't afford to take that risk. Michael Dukakis has opposed virtually every defense system we developed. He opposed new aircraft carriers. He opposed anti-satellite weapons. He opposed 4 missile systems, including Pershing II missile deployment. Dukakis opposed the stealth bomber and a ground emergency warning system against nuclear attack. He even criticized our rescue mission to Grenada and our strike on Libya. And now he wants to be our commander-in-chief. America can't afford that risk. Michael Dukakis says he won't rule out a tax increase if elected president. He speaks from experience. As governor, he passed the largest tax increase in the history of Massachusetts. Passed the Dukakis surtax of $363 million. He raised taxes on interest, dividends, and meals. Raised corporate taxes, payroll taxes, and the state income tax. And then raised sales and corporate taxes again. And now he wants to do for America what he's done for Massachusetts. American taxpayers can't afford that risk.
I, George Herbert Walker Bush. I, George Herbert Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
How does a man get to this point in his life? How does one man come so far?
Of the United States.
Maybe for George Bush, it began when he became the youngest pilot in the Navy.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Or perhaps it began this day in 1944, when he earned the Distinguished Flying Cross for bravery under fire.
I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I take this obligation.
Wherever it began, it continued when he took his family off to Texas and started and built a successful company.
That I take this obligation freely.
And it would continue when he was elected to Congress, selected to serve as UN ambassador, an emissary to mainland China, and later run the CIA. The more you learn how George Bush came this far, the more you realize that perhaps no one in this century is better prepared to be President of the United States.
So help you God, so help me God. I want a kinder and gentler nation.
It's the president who defines the character of America.
I'm a quiet man, but I hear the quiet people others don't. The ones who raise the family, pay the taxes, meet the mortgage. And I hear them, and I am moved.
The president, the heart, the soul, the conscience of the nation.
I always loved the time someone said to George, how can you run for president? You don't have any constituency. And George said, well, you know, I've got a great big family and thousands of friends. And that's what he has.
For more than 40 years, George Bush has met every challenge his country and the world have offered up to him. The truth is, the more you learn about George Bush, the more you realize that perhaps no one in this century is better prepared to be president of the United States.
For 7.5 years, I've worked with a great president. I've seen what crosses that big desk. I've seen the unexpected crisis that arrives in a cable in a young aide's hand. And so I know that what it all comes down to this election is the man at the desk And who should sit at that desk? My friends, I am that man. I'm a man who sees life in terms of missions, missions defined, and missions completed. I will not allow this country to be made weak again. I will keep America moving forward, always forward, for an endless, enduring dream and 1,000 points of light. This is my mission, and I will complete it.
A crime quiz. Which candidate for president gave weekend passes to first-degree murderers who were not even eligible for parole? Michael Dukakis. Who vetoed mandatory jail sentences for drug dealers? Michael Dukakis. Who opposes capital punishment in all cases and even vetoed the death penalty for cop killers? Michael Dukakis. Which candidate for president can you really count on to be tough on crime? George Bush. Experienced leadership for America's future.
As a candidate, Michael Dukakis called Boston Harbor an open sewer. As governor, he had the opportunity to do something about it, but chose not to. The Environmental Protection Agency called his lack of action the most expensive public policy mistake in the history of New England. Now, Boston Harbor, the dirtiest harbor in America, will cost residents $6 billion to clean. And Michael Dukakis promises to do for America what he's done for Massachusetts.
Over the past 6 years, 18 million jobs were created. Interest rates were cut in half. Today, inflation is down, taxes are down, and the economy is stronger. So while some might try to tell you we're on the wrong road or have gone as far as we can go, I believe that today America is better off than we were 8 years ago. And by building on the gains we've made, we'll all be better off in 4 years than we are today.
Michael Dukakis promised not to raise taxes, but as governor, he imposed the largest tax increase in Massachusetts history. He promised jobs, but since 1984, Massachusetts lost 90,000 blue-collar jobs. He promised less spending, but spent at a greater rate per capita than any other governor in America. And now he wants to do for America what he's done for Massachusetts. America can't afford that risk.
I, George Herbert Walker Bush.
The more you learn about how George Bush got this far, that he was once the youngest combat pilot in the Navy, that he started a business and met a payroll for years before representing us in Congress, the UN, and China, and the more you learn about his years as vice president, the more you realize that perhaps no one in this century is better qualified to be president of the United States.
So help you God, so help me God.
How good a governor is Michael Dukakis?
I don't think that Mike Dukakis has lived up to his promises.
He's raised taxes, and he's raised taxes.
He's taken money from the retirement funds that the people have put in there, and, to balance his mistakes that he's made.
Michael Dukakis should be called Michael Taxkakis.
Dukakis has made one mess out of Massachusetts.
I'm a Democrat, and I've never voted Republican before, but this time I'm voting for George Bush.
On an August day in 1988, an historic event took place. It didn't happen on Main Street or in any American town, but in Russia, where soldiers began destroying hundreds of nuclear missiles with the understanding that we'd destroy some of our own, the first disarmament treaty of its kind. And though most Americans were unaware of the significance of the moment or realized it was George Bush who led the way, someday their grandchildren will.